What is up, guys? It is your boy, Willie Matrix, Christian Gamer here, a.k.a. COD Coach. I am here to share with you some knowledge about spawns and how spawns work. I'm not going to tell you the exact spawns for every map. You need to watch gameplay and play to do that yourself, mostly because I don't even know that because I have not played that much. And each map is going to be different, and each mode is going to be different as well. But I'm going to explain to you the generic spawn system that is in Call of Duties, and multiple Call of Duties have different spawn systems and so on and so forth. But the general rules of thumb I'm going to share with you. We're going to start with the very, very basic, all right, spawns 101. This is the simplest terms of spawn, all right? Let's say this is your map, and we're going to split it into 4 quadrants, okay? Let's say you're here. That means the enemy team can spawn here, or spawn here. All right? Now, let's say you have a teammate here, and you're here. That means they can spawn one of these 2 places. If you're here, and teammates here, that means they're going to spawn on this one. Now, if you have a teammate in each quadrant, all right, you're going to get something called a split spawn. All right. Split spawn means, well, you could get a split spawn or a middle spawn. All of a sudden, they'll start spawning somewhere in the middle. You'll see this on Nuketown Domination. All right. I don't have Nuketown pulled up as my example, but let's just go with this for a minute. Nuketown Domination. All right. Let's say there's the house over here. All right. You are playing domination. There's the point behind this house. I didn't make the map big enough, but deal with it. You cap this. There's the point in the middle and point back here. All right. You're spawn trapping them on this part right here on this because they have this capped. You have this capped. Boom. Let's just say you have that one random teammate that pushes through garage and starts capping their point. As soon as you start capping their point, or even maybe push past their point and end up here in this spawn, if you don't cap their point or touch it and you go here in their spawn, they're usually going to spawn on this side. They still spawn back here. They just spawn on that side. Now, as soon as you touch that point and start capping it, if you have teammates that are still back here in your spawn, spawns might flip, okay? Option 1, spawns might flip. But if you have a teammate back here, spawns still could flip. But more often than not, they are going to spawn Jeep, where that Jeep is in the middle of the map. And that's a problem, okay? Because now they can just infiltrate from the middle. Now, if you know this information, then it's not much of a problem, okay? So that's an example of a mid spawn. Sometimes it's a split spawn where they'll still spawn back over here, but then they also spawn over here. Now they spawn on both sides because you're messing around. That's why the art of the spawn trap is an art. You cannot push that point, and you cannot push too far into their spawn before you spawn them out. The goal is to keep them in that spawn so you know where they are. You might be wondering why spawns are important. Well, this is the COD coaching, and I'm not saying this in some condescending way. I hope everybody knows that. I don't know the most about COD. You can watch pros, and they're going to know way more about this than I do. But I've been playing pretty competitively for a long time. I used to be an amateur COD player, game battles just like any of you, right? Amateur COD player. Front page on GBs, stuff like that, playing in tournaments, playing wagers, doing all that stuff, and then gradually turning into more of a ranked play amateur, and then turning into a pub stomper. And then that's kind of been it. But I've been doing that for a long time, and so I'm just sharing with you basic information. All right? None of this is in condescension, so I don't want anybody watching this thinking he thinks he knows everything about COD, he's trying to be condescending, he's a pro. No, I'm not. So many of you are going to know more than I do about COD. Just know that. But this is for your friend who just started COD, or your friend who's getting into competitive Call of Duty, right? And you want them to learn this without having to explain it to them. Just send them my playlist of COD coaching, and you're good to go, all right? And if you want more tips like this, make sure you subscribe, like the video because it supports the channel, and turn on that notification bell. Without further ado, spawns only matter in hardpoint. They matter in control. That's going to sound silly, but it does matter in control. And obviously not in search and destroy. When it comes to CDL modes. In pubs, it matters in basically every mode, but free-for-all, search and destroys, things like that, it doesn't matter. And I'm not going to go through all those modes. I'm going to speak mostly competitively. So now, if we have to come back to this, we will. But let's jump to a map that we all know. Hardpoint on Vault. All right, we have the rotation of the hills marked for us right here, okay? let's see if this, wait, can I do, oh, how does that look? Oh, well, change the color, buddy. Change the color, buddy. Oh, my word. Come on. What is going on? Okay. Red? What? What is happening? You guys are watching me completely fail right now. Oh. I figured it out. Okay. So we're going to play orange. All right. That's our team. Team 1. Rogue Black Ops. This is Crimson 1. This is the spawn system in Hardpoint. All right. This is going to be really tough to explain in its entirety, but I will do my best. Okay. But it's going to help you to understand how this works, and then you can go into the game and pay attention to this and then actually learn the specific spawns. I don't know the specific spawns in their entirety on this map. But without further ado, when you have a point like P1, you're going to continue to hold your original spawns. Actually, when the hard point pops, you might even spawn closer to the hill. Now, when there is a rotation or a certain time limit, you know how the hill counts down from 55 or 60 or 50 or whatever it is in hardpoint? It counts down as soon as it hits a certain timeline, and I don't know the exact time. If this team, let's just say, is in the hill, one's top balcony or top hallway, 2 in the hill, and 1 pushed up here. You're spawning over here trying to push the hill. Pretty soon at a certain timeline, because they're all right here, you're going to now spawn over here, or here, or here, or here, or here. Like I said, I don't know the specific spawns, but you're going to start spawning around the P2 point at a certain timeline. Now, here's the thing. The reason we also want to note these spawns, right? The reason we want to note these spawns is because it tells us where the enemy team could be. If they have 2 in the hill, and we know this, 1 top hallway, and now it hits like that 15-second, 10-second mark where the spawns start to rotate to P2 spawns, because each point has a different spawn system. P2, you're spawning back here generically, spawning over here generically, spawning here generically, and that's kind of it. The general areas. Boom, boom, and boom, right? There could be other underlying spawns. I'm just demonstrating generic areas that you will spawn. As soon as P2 pops or 10 seconds left on P1, you'll be here, okay? That's why it's important that if you have a teammate that is rotating to P2 and they are here, 2 of them, and they die, but you're sitting here floating around P1 with 5 seconds left, they are going to spawn all the way over here because you're still in P1. If you have control of the point, it manipulates the spawns. If you were out of the point, but you're still over here, they might spawn here instead. But if you're in the point, they're going to spawn the P1 spawns. Does that make sense? Also, if P2 pops and you're still here, they're just going to spawn out from the P2 spawns, which would still be over here. But if you're in the point, they're going to be spawning somewhere off in Narnia while the other team is holding the point, and then there's 10 seconds wasted running over there, okay? So here we go. Like I was going to demonstrate before I got on that tangent, is if they are 3 here and all of a sudden I spawn here, you know what that tells me? That their 4th guy is in this vicinity. He's in this vicinity right here. That's a large area, but it really nails it down. Because the spawns on P2 are a little bit broken. They could be holding the hill and have a guy here, but you can still spawn here. If they have a guy back here, though, you can spawn like middle and here, and you'll be pushing through. So if I spawn during P2 over here on that P1 to P2 rotation, P1 is still there. There's 10 seconds left, something like that. And I spawn over here. That tells me they got a guy like in the hill or pushed out back here. If I spawn over here, you know what that tells me? I'm dead because they have a guy holding the back in the point. No, because they have 3 guys over here. I probably spawn over here. If for some reason I spawn here, this spot, that means one of these people rotated back. And now they have 2 back here. Does that make sense? So if I'm ever in a game situation where I'm spawning in with 10 seconds left on P1, all right, 10 seconds left on P1 right here, okay, and I see that it's held by the enemy, I know there's at least one there, okay? Now, if I spawn way out here, that means I know that they're probably set up for P2, that there's a guy back here or a guy on the point, whatever. Now, if the 10 seconds left on P1 and I spawn back here or over here, well, that tells me that they got 4 guys more around P1 or pushed up too far this way. So that tells me where they're at or a generic area. So that's why spawns are super important to know. One of the reasons spawns are super important to know. All right. So let's clear the map. Now we are on P2. All right. This spawn, like I said, is really, really wonky. Okay. But you fought for spawns back here. All right. This is super important to note. You do not want to push too far this area. Okay. Because now you're giving them this spawn back here. As soon as you push up, now your teammates back here have to watch their back while they're getting gunned from this guy that's on this little heady, right? So you want to keep them spawning in Narnia. How do you do that? You block spawns. How do you block spawns? Well, how are you supposed to block spawns? You want to block this spawn? You need a guy here. Okay? You want to block over here. I think this guy here blocks this spawn. I don't know that for sure. So that's why I'm saying these specific spawns you might need to test out yourself. But having a guy here, having a guy on these stairs, that's really going to prevent this spawn. They might still push through middle. It doesn't mean they spawned middle. They could have spawned here and ran through middle. Okay? But you do, I'll be honest, P2, I really like to leave this area alone. I like to put 2 in the hill. And I like a guy here on these steps, and I like a guy here watching both these entries. Now, if they pull off a full flank, you got to call that out, rotate back, kill this guy, you hold here. When your teammate spawns back in, he can go take your place, or a guy out of the hill goes and takes this. This is called replacing. This is like a very basketball theology thing. Theology, oh my word. This is something. Like I said, the rotations within the rotations. We're getting super heady about this, but you guys got to follow me on this. If you have 2 guys in the hill, guy back here, holding this, and he's watching the 2 openings here and this cross, okay? Then you have a guy here who's on these steps, and he's aiming down hallway and can also look out this window and gun these guys over here, all right? If they pull off a full flank, which this guy in the hill should be aiming down this way and there's steps here, so he might not see them, but if they pull off this full flank and kill this guy, spawns are going to get a little wonky. Don't panic. This guy here, if everything's clear, rotate, check mid, run back here, pick up this kill. This guy should push out the back or just pre-aim the door and be ready for the push from the back. This guy right here, probably don't push out the door because you want to soak up time. This guy right here needs to slide to the truck. Keep an eye on this cross right here. And then rotate to stairs. So now stairs went to main AR. Point went to here. Guy in the hill stays in the hill. When the next guy spawns up, which he should spawn here or spawn here. Now, if he spawns off into Narnia, spawns off here for P3, that means, you know what? There's probably not that much time on the hill, or they completely infiltrated. And now it is chaos. But if he spawns close, then just have him replace in the hill. Or he replaces AR, main AR spot, and then rotate, or replace stairs, and then he goes back to the hill. Just, you figure that out as a team, okay? So now, all right, this is confusing as frick, I know, all right? But I'm just showing you general things that you can do in setups for hardpoint on Vault, okay? So now let's say there's 10 seconds left on P2. You start spawning Narnia. This is what you want, okay? When there's about 15 seconds left on P2, this is important, main ARs especially. You rotate out. If you push this way, you're either going to kill them or they're going to kill you. If they kill you, it's not a huge deal, but I just don't like to give kills when I don't have to. Okay? So I like to go this way, whatever way I can. Push all the way through. You are trying to flip your spawn from here to here. Why? This top house is really nice to look at P3. The other ones, submachine guns that are in P2, you always leave one here for scrap time. Not always. End game situations, you don't always. Depends on the situation for sure. But usually you leave a guy for scrap. One of the guys in the hill needs to go through mid and lock down this little hallway where you can eat up time while you're here while this is going on. Your stairs guy should go through mid with him because if there's a gunfight here, he's got your trade. But that guy should go push out street and be outside street back here on one of these annoying head glitches out here. Okay? Last guy picking up scrap, rotate when you can. Here's the thing, though. This guy, top this house, he does not hold spawns back here if they challenge you. If one of them goes back here while this guy's up here, I believe they win those spawns. They can spawn here. So you have to be super careful. This guy back here needs to play like bottom house, play back here until you get the spawns. Because big picture moment. Big picture moment. You got to think ahead. You're playing for P3. You're playing from P2 to P3, right? But where's P4? Right here. So if you keep these spawns for P3, because it's 50-50, I don't think this spawn is better than this spawn for P3. It's middle of the map. There's no advantage from one side to the other, okay? Now, I am very much cooker cutting this map into 4. Guess what? It's not segmented into 4. It's segmented into like millions, okay? If you cross this little tiny line, they spawn here. If you cross this line, they spawn here. If you cross this line, they're going to spawn here. If you cross this line, they spawn here. So there's little tiny lines all over the map that if you cross it, it will manipulate the spawn. But the point being is that you want to have these spawns because during P3, if you're holding it and you're still spawning here, guess what? You have 2 feet to go. You're basically already set up for P4. You're set up for P4. But if you're just holding these spawns P2 to P3, you're a dingus because now P3, good chance it's going to be 50-50. Occasionally you can lock it down. But now they're spawning here, and if they hold that, then they get a P3 50-50 to a P4 hold to a 50-50 P1. If you 50-50 these, that's 50-50-50. That's 150 points if they hold P4 for forever, which, to be fair, some teams you run into can lock down P4 easy. But if you 50-50, just split it, 50-50, P1, P3, 25 seconds, or whatever it is. That's 50 seconds. And then if they hold this down for, let's just say you could test it a little bit. They hold it for 40. That's 140 points you just gave up because you didn't rotate correctly. That's idiotic. That's idiotic, and it's why I have COD coaching on this channel. So here's the other thing. If there's 10 seconds left, it's first rotation, and there's 10 seconds left on P2, and you have a teammate trying to rotate over here, or this AR trying to rotate over here, you guys die, you spawn over here. I see my teammates do this a lot. I love you guys. They spawn over here. They spawn over here. They spawn middle or something. Don't run back to challenge. If you spawn out and there's 15 seconds left, guess what? It's a zero-sum game. Because if you set up, if you take this spawn and you just rotate to P3 and you're set up before they are because they're winning P2, you're going to hold the first 15 seconds anyway. So it's 0-0. You think there's 10 seconds left. There's 15 seconds left. I got to go over there and challenge it, contest it. Late game is different. First rotation, who gives a crap? Focus on holding the first 15 of P3. And then so on and so forth. That's why 15 seconds on the first 2 rotations, roughly, are usually when I start to rotate. Unless the score is out of hand, like 200-70, then you need to start fighting for every second. But realistically, if it's 100-100 or whatever, 15 seconds is not that much. And if you get a good setup on P3, P4, P2, P1 by rotating early, you're going to hold it for that time anyway, and it's going to be 0-0. Okay? So just basic notes on when you should rotate. Now, if you spawn here still, even though your teammate is rotating and they're holding this and you spawn here, you know what? Hightail it and just try to get to a position for P3. To be honest, I think you could even, what I call playing the cross or playing cutoff, okay, is go here, get out of the spawn. That's number one. Get to a certain line on the map where you know that you're not going to manipulate spawns. Okay, you need to figure that out for yourself. Come into middle and just play a corner. So that way when they leave P2, one, you can give information to your team. If you spawn back here only, don't do it. If there's 15 seconds left and you spawn middle or spawn here, don't go to middle and play cutoff. Not worth it. But if you're like a lingering spawn because the spawns are broken and yada, 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 then you know what? Go play cutoff. When they come in, you get 2 free kills, and then you go play your position at P3. Now, this should not be your main AR. Main AR, if you die back here and you go do this, your job is to get the frick out of there and go fight for spawns, okay? Now, it might be worth going behind them, getting some freebies, and then pushing through this way. But here's the thing. One of the reasons why I don't like that is if you push behind them and kill them, they're going to call you out. They're going to spawn here, and they're going to know that you're coming from only a couple different directions. And they could just pre-aim this while they're fighting for this, and then you're basically a free kill. So I don't love pushing through P2 to fight for spawns. I like pushing around to P3. Now, if you didn't get the rotation and your main AR and your lingering spawns and all this stuff, the other option that you could do is not play cutoff, but now we're playing for a full-on break. When you're playing for a full-on break, it's like this. You were main AR, you died, you're over here now. They're back here. You have your 2 people in the hill. They're here. Okay? If they're holding it down and they're spawning up and they're just getting into gunfights, you know what? And you know that they're over here, they're getting called out that they're like 3 or 4 are over here, then by all means push through middle and try to pull off a mini flank as a main AR and fight for spawns. Sure. But if they're like pushed up onto P3 contesting it, now you're in a full-on break mode. Or if they broke in, don't, as a main AR, don't go flanking. Find a position of strength and play for picks. Play for picks. Just shoot. Aim for the guy top their house. Aim for the guys in the hill. Just get them so that they can't peek, so that your submachine guns can pull off the flank. Pull off the flank. Sometimes the submachine gun breaks spawns. Main AR holds spawns. Note that, okay? Note that. That was a really good piece of wisdom. All right. So now P3 to P4. Again, 15 seconds left. Scrap it. Forget it. Don't need it because P4 is a money hill. If you can lock P4 down, they're going to be spawning P1. They're going to be spawning over here, I think. They spawn over here. And also pool. Okay? You got a guy upstairs. You got a guy in the hill. I really like a guy this window. And I like a guy on this car. If you have a trophy. Okay? This window can watch here. This guy car can watch across. This guy car, what happens a lot is he overchows when they spawn here and they push him and he gets killed. And then this side door is just open for the taking. This guy top here can also peek this window and peek this side. Okay? And then the guy in hill needs to just soak. All right? Now, I also, if you don't want a guy top this, put him here on statue because I believe you can kind of hold spawns there. I don't know for sure when spawns break on this hill. Okay? Because the spawns on this hill too seem really wonky. The spawns in this game are just wonky. But generically speaking, here or here, because he can, I don't love here if you have a guy truck, because then this guy top house has to look here, because this guy truck is mainly looking at this middle push. Guy statue needs to look at the middle push as well. So then you're just doubling up. This guy then should just be around back. I don't even know, soaking uphill, front door, watching this area. I don't know. And then top just continually looking middle and side. I like top this house. I like top adjacent house. I like this one here. I like truck. I like top this house and one in the hill. Now, if you do that and all of a sudden they start spawning back here, then screw what I'm saying. This guy truck needs to be back here holding side door. Your job is going to be super boring, but you're basically there holding spawns, making sure nobody's going to get killed. All right? That's the big thing. Then this guy top house and this guy top house should be locking down the whole middle area where a lot of them push through. This push is such a funnel. This push right here is such a funnel that you should be able to call them out as you're shooting. This guy top house can go here and shoot. This guy can go top house and shoot across. It's a lockdown hill. This is why the P3 to P4 rotation is important. But you know what sets up the P3 to P4 rotation? Is your P2 to P3 rotation. If you rotate properly and get these spawns for P3 and hold them for P3, then you can lock down P4. And understand, these spawns are more important than 30 seconds of hill time here. Because 30 minus 50 is 20, so you'll be net 20 if you hold this for a full 50. Then, when you start going to P1, they call it P1, but technically it is P5, and then P6, P7, P8, because it's the same spot, but it's a new rotation, right? So technically this is P5. It's 50-50, but you probably, after holding this, go this way, go up here, and go top hallway, and then what you want to do is start pushing out so that they don't spawn here, and you flip spawns, because now P5 to P2, and P2 can be a lockdown hill if you set up right. It's tough, but it's lockable. P1 and P3 are 50-50. So think about it like that. Hardpoint, vault, spawns. Why spawns are important? It tells you where the enemy team is. It also wins you the game. Okay? It wins you the game. If I spawn here and I call out where I spawn, my teammate here knows to pre-aim the back. It's like walls, okay? That's why it matters to know spawns, to know these things, all right? Now, like I said, this is generic spawn systems, okay? Spawns matter more in hardpoint than anything else. Control, hardpoint, both have a spawn system, but control spawns aren't as important because the points are limited, okay? P1 rotates, so that means spawns rotate. Spawns stay the same in control. Now, if you're spawn trapping them or they cap a point, spawns do change. But control, right, here and here, okay? You can spawn trap them here. But as soon as they cap P1, they can start spawning here and here. Unless you control these areas. If you control these areas during control, they will spawn here. And you can just spawn trap them. Okay? But if you don't have control of the map in this section and you're just back here waiting and you're over here and da-da-da-da, they can spawn street, get control of this house. And they can open it up for them. Okay? So control, it's super simple. Spawns are super simple. Play a couple control rounds. You'll know where they're spawning, especially if you go a little bit rogue and test the spawns. Okay? Go into a private match and test the spawns. You could do that for hardpoint too, but hardpoint, it matters the most because this cost Optic Gaming, I don't know if it was Champs or one of the majors, it costed them in Vanguard because the spawn system in Vanguard was broken. I forget the map where there's a broken ship on the right side, but then there's Top Gun on the left side, and it's like this mounted gun, and that was where a point was in Vanguard, okay? And they were holding that top point, and they were like messing around in the hill because it was a close game, which you need to. You need to focus the hill, all right? But they were around this hill, and they read the spawns wrong, and they didn't know spawns flipped. Now, it was partially because the game was broken, but also partially because of positioning. Can you call the game broken if that's the way that it's designed and they were pushed to a point that flipped the spawn? Maybe you can, because the spawns aren't always going to work exactly how they were designed. So this costed Optic because then a spawn flip came in. They weren't watching their back. The other team got a pick on one of the power positions, and then it was all just contested and broken from there, and Optic's dreams went bye-bye in that tournament. So it's super important to know spawns. I'm sorry if this was very confusing. Let me know if being on the map itself, like I like doing paint because I can circle and squares, but once it gets to like this point where you see this many drawings on it, maybe it's confusing for you. Maybe you didn't follow it all. Would it be easier if I showed you gameplay of me in a private lobby and showed you on the map literally? Or do you like this screen? Now, this was just Vault. Red Card, I have not played a lot, so I'm not going to pretend to know that one. Protocol, that hard point, how you win that one. If I broke down the map, I could show you how to win Protocol every time. Skyline is such a small map that spawns they're not really that crazy. Vault is kind of that in the middle size where when you spawn somebody out, it is like 5-6 seconds before they get back to you. Skyline, it's like 2 seconds and they could be right on top of you, and spawns are right next to each other, and it's broken. As Scrap described it, it's very much Bocage from Vanguard, where spawns are just they don't really matter a lot, but at the same time they do, and you just need to rotate and win your gunfights. That's the thing is, you can do spawns right. You can do holds right, where I said hold this, hold this, hold this, and hold this. Also, if you want one guy in the hill, holding this heady where there's like this box here is actually a good spot too. If you don't want another guy in the hill, that 4-man setup right there is really, really good. But beside the point, what was I saying? You could do all this right. But if main AR loses gunfight, Stairs loses their gunfight, then you have 2 people in the hill and you just lost spawns probably. Depending on where these guys pushed it. Well, if they killed this guy, you lost spawns. And now you're going to be spawning in Narnia. And now these 2 guys, you better hightail it back. But if there's 15 seconds, do not even bother running back unless you spawn close. If there's 15 seconds and you spawn in Narnia and there's 15 seconds on hill, just rotate. Just rotate. Not worth it. I don't care if you're a sub. I don't care if you're main AR. I don't care. Just go to your spot on the map, play cutoff, play the point, whatever. Do not rotate back. This will change the game for you. If I explained it well enough, this will change the game for you in Hardpoint and why spawns matter. So pay attention. It's also why it's worth sometimes just giving up the hill, giving up spawns. At 15 seconds, that main AR, you should already be out of that spawn. So if your teammates die, they're not spawning there anymore. Give them spawns. If you're in the point and there's 10 seconds left and you lost the gunfight, I don't want to ever hear you say, oh, I lost, my bad, I got killed. No, I don't care. I could care less. You could hold a grenade for all I care, which people have done that before to help with rotations. They'll hold a grenade so that they spawn somewhere else. So that way the other team doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, I think that does it for spawn systems in Call of Duty. Hopefully I explained it well. If I need to do a follow-up video, let me know. Let me know if you want to see me on the map at a private lobby explaining these things. I could do that. But hopefully it made sense to you guys. Hopefully these spawns, like I said, you're going to take this information and you're going to go and you're going to put this into practice. I cannot tell you specific spawns on each map. You got to watch the pros. You got to play for yourself. I'm just telling you the generic rules of rotating and spawns in Hardpoint because that's where it really matters. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe. Send this to a friend who sucks at Call of Duty. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.